show you some of the newspapers, front pages of certain newspapers across the country today about last night's memorial. Front page, obviously, of the Arizona Daily Star, President embracing Gabrielle Gifford's husband, and it says, President says Giffords has opened her eyes for the first time, and then later down the page, further down the page, it says, healing words of President, a balm to the brokenhearted. So that's how the Arizona Daily Star is looking at it. The Washington Post, again, picture of the president in the audience with the First Lady and the intern who intervened to try and help Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. The headline says, Obama calls for healing, not blame. That's how the Washington Post sees it. The USA Today has, again, a picture of the president embracing Mark Kelly, the husband of Gabrielle Giffords, quoting the president from his comments, Obama, our hearts are broken. President calls for a civil discourse. The New York Times almost went a little smaller on it. They certainly have the same picture from a different angle of President Obama and Mark Kelly. It does say, however, Obama calls Americans to a new era of civility. And then it's got a picture of Sarah Palin referring to her comments earlier in the week about this whole issue. I want to reintroduce my panel to you. Some great people here to discuss the importance of how this was conducted. Roland Martin joins us from Skype, via Skype from Silver Springs, Maryland. He is a CNN political analyst. Pete Dominick, a CNN contributor in New York. Mark Thiessen, former Bush speechwriter, by the way, and a columnist for the Washington Post. In Washington, Karen Tumulty in Washington Post. In Washington, she's a Washington Post political reporter. Karen, on the point that you made and the point that Pete was making, I want to listen to the president's comments on Christina, the girl who's being buried in less than 2 hours.
Christina was given to us on September 11th, 2001, one of 50 babies born that day to be pictured in a book called Faces of Hope. On either side of her photo in that book were simple wishes for a child's life. I hope you help those in need, read one. I hope you know all the words to the national anthem and sing it with your hand over your heart. I hope you jump in rain puddles.
Okay, and I'm showing you a picture of that fire truck that is bringing that remarkable flag that was taken down in the collapse of the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. The very day Christina Green was born, that flag is coming out and is going to fly over the funeral for Christina Green, which begins at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Mark Thiessen, I want to ask you, we often talk at times like this about how we all come together and party doesn't matter and things like that. But the reality is, as this passes, party will matter and we will not come together. So these are rare opportunities, and I hate to couch them as opportunities, but when tragedy strikes, it is an opportunity for the president to put a message out there that isn't otherwise out there. Was he provoked to do so by Sarah Palin's comments? Was he provoked to do so by people who said that Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and Sarah Palin are responsible for an environment in which people shoot politicians? Was he provoked to do so by his own thoughts? What do you think, having been a speechwriter?
I think clearly the middle one you said, the critics who had come out and started pointing blame at this. I mean, almost within an hour of the shooting, the founder of the Daily Cause had put out a tweet that said, "Mission accomplished, Sarah Palin." Paul Krugman at the New York Times, within 3 hours, had put up a column on the New York Times Post blaming this on the Tea Party. All these people came out to politicize. I mean, what was amazing about this event was that within hours, so many people felt free to politicize this and to try and make score political points as a result of it. And what President Obama did last night is he reclaimed this moment for the victims. He reclaimed this moment for the heroes. He told people to stop pointing fingers, to stop making political hay out of this, and focus on the people who had died and on the people who were trying to heal. And he healed our country. You know, when presidents give certain types of speeches in their presidencies, they give Oval Office addresses, convention speeches, States of the Union, and in all of those, they're very political speeches in a lot of ways. A memorial speech like this is a moment when everybody in the country wants to unite and is looking to the president, wants to support him, and he united the country last night. It was a brilliant speech.
I've asked my viewers to post things on Facebook and Twitter. Let me give you some of the comments, some of the things that they've actually said to me. The response, by the way, was overwhelmingly in support of what the president says. Nick wrote, I think it's up there with Reagan's Challenger speech, Clinton at Oklahoma City, Bush at the National Cathedral. It could be a turning point for his presidency, much like Clinton after Oklahoma City. Jeremy posted, leaving the atmosphere out of it, it showed a reality that presidents work best as uniters and not dividers. Brent replied, it was his finest moment as president, a clear unifying message. The arena setting can be debated, but it does reflect our society. Marie writes, brilliant, heartfelt, proud of my president. Let's go through some of the Facebook comments. Cheryl says, I think President Obama's speech was brilliant, hopeful, and reminded me of why we elected him in the first place. I could literally feel the love and unity of us as a country when everyone began to stand and cheer. Laura says, I thought it was deeply spiritual, comforting and uniting, and transcended the pettiness of politics. He looked and sounded like a leader, the leader of the whole country, not just those who agree with him. He made his constant detractors look small. David writes, best speech of his presidency. He handled this horrible tragedy with grace and class. And Danny says the president did exactly what he should have, stayed above the fray of petty politics, memorialized those whose lives were lost, and challenged the nation to transform itself. In the end, Roland, whether there was politics involved in this or not, it does sound like people who were watching it, or at least people who are watching it who've been talking to me. And as you know, like you, my Twitter followers and Facebook followers are not all fans of me, and they certainly are not all fans of the Democratic Party or the president. It does seem that he achieved something and hit the right note with his comments. Roland?
Hey, Allie, can I jump in? You're having problems with Roland. Can we hear him?
Yeah, I think there might be a delay, or he's just standing there with no expression, which would be very unlike Roland. So you go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, can I just say that we can't agree on what causes the problems, much less what the solutions are in this country so often. And the president's job last night was to unify us. I've never agreed with anything that Mark Thiessen, my co-panelist here, has ever said. What he just said just now, I completely agree with it. I'm totally unified with Mark Thiessen. The president said something last night. He always gives something to liberals, to conservatives. Last night he gave two quotes from Scripture to people of religion. I'm not particularly religious, but you look at that Arizona newspaper and that headline, that pull quote, which is my Facebook status. He said, last night, we recognize our own mortality. And we are reminded in the fleeting time that we have on earth, what matters is not wealth, not status, not power, but rather how well we loved. Ali Velshi, that I could not. It's so intensely laser focused on my personal beliefs on what life is about, and I've so appreciated that comment.
Final word to you, Karen. Does any of the value of this carry beyond these memorial services and the recent memory of this tragedy?
Well, I was struck by one of the comments that you got comparing this to Oklahoma City. That was a moment, and that was a much more overtly political act than this. But that was a moment where Bill Clinton did, in fact, sort of reclaim his presidency in a moment very much like this, after a bad election for him. But 7 months later, the government was shut down. All of the rancor had returned. You know, I think if there is any political benefit, if there is any sort of, cessation of the vitriol, unfortunately, I think it's going to be temporary.
I thank you to all of you. I appreciate the civility with which we've been able to have this discussion, a very important discussion. Roland Martin, we'll always get a chance to talk to him some more. He's our political analyst in Silver Spring, Maryland. He needs to fix his Skype. Pete Dominick, our CNN contributor in New York, Karen Tumulty, and Mark Thiessen, both involved with the Washington Post. Thank you for being with us today and having this discussion with us. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to follow that weather that continues to hamper us across the country. We've got a lot of news for you.